mystified. Oh, and like a private eye, they gather all the...
Hey seniors, Mr. Chiakulas here, and I've been getting a lot of questions about using your test scores in your applications. As of this video, over 70% of four-year colleges in the United States are test optional. And while that's great flexibility, it also is bringing about a lot of questions about, should I submit my score? Should I not submit my score? What do I do? The problem is I can't tell you what to do. It's really up to you. But what I can do is give you a few things to think about while you're trying to make that decision. Before we get too deep into it, I just want to quickly go over some of the definitions of options you might see while you're filling out your applications. We've mentioned test optional. Again, there are over probably 1,500 colleges at this point that are not requiring you to send a score in. So if you have one, you don't have to send it in. If you don't have one, you don't have to worry about needing one. So we'll talk about how to figure that out here in a second. Two other options you might see. One is test flexible, meaning it's test optional, but if you want to send in a score other than an ACT or SAT score, you can do that, like your PSAT or AP scores. Lastly, you might come across some colleges that are test blind, and I believe there's over 60 colleges right now that are test blind, meaning even if you send the score, they're not going to look at it. They're going to look at everything else in the process in your application besides the test score. So for colleges that do what's called a holistic review, they are looking at everything about your application, your grades, your essay, your activities, if there's letters, possibly how interested you might be in the school, and test scores. The test scores, again, are just one piece of the puzzle. So first and foremost, if you do not feel that your test score is a good representation of your abilities, then don't send it. So if you've got great grades, good rigor of courses, lots of activities, your essay is strong, and you think your score is gonna not add much to that or bring those things down, then don't you send your score. If you think your score is on par with those things, or maybe even will strengthen your application because maybe some of those other areas are lower, then use your test score. So it's kind of up to you. If you think it's going to strengthen your application, send it. If you don't think so, then don't. So again, if I can say, yes, I am happy with my scores and they best represent who I am as a student, then send them. If not, then don't. Secondly, another thing to look at is from the college side, and what average scores or what middle 50% scores do admitted students typically have. And if you fall within these ranges or above, you might want to send it. If you're at the lower end or below those ranges, you may want to think twice about sending it. I'm going to show you an example now from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. You can usually pretty easily find a freshman class profile on all colleges' websites. And what this shows is where the middle 50% of freshmen admitted this most recent fall fell in terms of their grades and their test scores. So even when there's a holistic review, even if the school might be test optional, they may also include test scores that they know of. So you can see for the University of Illinois, half of the students who were admitted from this year's freshman class, SAT scores and ACT scores fell within this range. What about the other 50%? Well, half of those were above, or 25% of admitted students were above the range, 25% of the students were below the range. So if your test score is in this range or above it, it should help you. If it's at the lower end or for sure below it, it may not help you so much. So you can look at some schools, even by college, where their test scores fall and where their ranges fall. So again, if your numbers are outside the range, it doesn't mean you're going to be admitted or denied or anything like that, but it just kind of gives you a basis to kind of take a look at. So if you're not feeling strong about your scores and they're not in the range of where students who are admitted typically fall, again, it may be a clue to not include your scores and to apply test optional. One last thing to consider is, does the college award merit-based scholarships without your test score? Most colleges that are going test optional are also awarding scholarships without the test score. However, it's really important to make sure you double check what the colleges you're applying to, because you don't want to miss out on scholarship money by not submitting your score. So just double check that. It varies from college to college. You may need it for certain honors programs or other additional scholarships beyond ones that are automatically awarded at the time of admission. But in general, if you're happy with the score, if it's going to boost your application, if you have one already, so don't panic and try to take one somewhere else. If you don't have a score on hand already, if you're happy with it, submit it. If you're not, you don't think it helps, it's below the averages, you don't think it's a real representation of who you are as a student, you have other great stuff on your applications that you want them to see, then don't. So that's about the best I can tell you. Ultimately, the choice is yours. You can always check with the colleges to see if they have any insight directly from the college reps, but don't let it stress you out. Do the best you can on those applications, put your best foot forward, and wait and see what happens. I may have said this before, but follow us at Life After Hersey on social media and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any more of these important videos.